Walk with me.
Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountain shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. The mountain shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. Yes. And he shall judge the poor of the people, and shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor. They shall fear thee as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. He shall come down like rain upon the mown grass, and showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, and the abundance of peace, so long as the moon endureth. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from river to the ends of the earth. And they that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. The kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents. The kings of Sheba and Sheba shall offer gifts. Yea, and all kings shall fall down before him, all nations shall serve him. For he shall deliver the needy when he crieth, the poor also, and him that have no helper. He shall spare the poor and needy, and shall save the souls of the needy. And he shall redeem their soul from deceit and violence, and precious shall their blood be in his sight. And he shall live, and to him shall be given of gold of Sheba. Prayer also shall be made for him continually, and daily shall he be praised. And there shall be an handful of corn in the earth upon the top of the mountains. The fruit thereof shall shake like Lebanon, and they of the city shall flourish like grass of the earth. His name shall endure forever. His name shall be continued as long as the sun. And men shall be blessed in him, and all nations shall call him blessed. Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes. Also, deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have sway over the thoughts of men's hearts, and let them not lead me astray from thee, my God. Establish thou me and my seed forever, that we go not astray henceforth and evermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, good morning again. Good afternoon, good evening, those of you on this platform and those shared platforms. We thank God for you. And with a hand clap of praise, we thank God for those of you that have been with us since the beginning, and those of you that have joined us since here and there's about, and those of you who have subscribed and followed, just subscribe and follow, and those of you that are about to subscribe and follow, calling those things that are not as though they are. Yes, all praises to the Most High, all praises to him who created all things. Yes, we're in Jasher chapter 56. Jasher chapter 56. It's going to take a different twist here now. Joseph, in the previous chapter, he was going through, he finally got his son back. He met the son that he thought was long lost and demised. Joseph, again, he saw that there was corn in Egypt, and that son was sent to Egypt to be there to receive them, to receive of the I am, even the good of the land. And he lived there, yes. And he rejoiced, everybody rejoiced, even to know that Joseph lived because of the goodness of Abram. See, a good name is better than, this is where you would get that from. A good name is better than riches. It's not the good name in your products. It's the good name of how you treat other people, how you deal with the poor. The reason Abraham was so blessed is because he blessed the poor. I don't care who the poor is. He blessed the poor, and especially the poor of his people. Yes, and now we're in Jasher chapter 56, and we're going to read from there. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, and the days of Jacob and the years of his life were 147 years. That's quite a while. I mean, it's quite a cutoff from the time of Adam. Adam was the longest living man upon the earth, and also the first. He was not born of a woman, he was created of the Most High. But because of what happened, he could not live a heavenly day, because he listened to his wife. He hearkened to his wife. For thus we know that men have a weakness, and that is the woman. Great kingdoms have been brought down because of the woman. I ain't saying all women, but certain women who have been tempted and accused and tested. Do you understand the process that goes on around God's throne? I mean, God created, but God, look at what happened here. Satan went up and says, we're going to take the example of Abraham and Isaac. He told them, it's right there in the book of Jasher. You go back in the archives, you'll find it. But he told him, he said, with all this, you're gonna Abram, will he sacrifice? Does he love you so much that he will sacrifice his own son? I mean, even God boasted of him, of how righteous. There is no man no righteous than Abraham to me. But he said, let him sacrifice his son. And he did that. Yes. In other words, what I'm saying is that he accused Abram. But God knew and God trusted Abraham's heart, that Abraham would do the right thing, or he would do what he was told. Abraham had a blind faith, a faith that he knew this God is real, because he delivered him out of the fire. What much more he will deliver me from death, and even my son, he will resurrect him in the last day. That's really confidence in God. Abraham, and then not only that, he instilled that confidence in Isaac. And also all the kings around him, even the king of Egypt, knew who Abram was because of the works of the Most High. See, it's not the fact that we make the reputation of the Most High, but the Most High's reputation is made by us and how he deals with us, how he deals with our enemies. And it's not by how you live. Yes. It's not by that. It said, not by might, nor by spirit, nor by your whatever wisdom, not by your whatever prosperity you got, not by power, but by my spirit, says the I am. By his spirit, he delivered Abraham. And that spirit is powerful. That spirit called God, we call God, is very powerful. I mean, there is no energy on earth. If you want to get to that point thinking you so wise, oh, the energy here and the energy there, you don't know God. You don't know him. Yes, you don't know him at all. Energy. There's an energy, each molecule, your flesh, steel, wood, everything has a certain amount of electrons in it, period. I mean, those of you who had, electricity 101 should know this. And everything has a certain hardness to it, and everything has a certain malleability to it. And I mean, this is all, electrons exist anyway. All that your wires do and the power company does is push amps or watts. They push this stuff through, and this makes watts. It's called amps. They push this amperage through. And with the number of electrons and how it's pushing, it's going to create watts. So copper wire is basically what they use. Aluminum, it's not so good, but it works. But gold is even better. But the fact is, gold is not durable. It will break. Now, I digress. Let me get out of that, because I can get into that and stay in it. But either way. Verse 2, and at that time Jacob was attacked with that illness of which he died. In other words, God allowed an illness to come upon him. In other words, it's time for you to go, Jacob. Your time is over with. You've endured And now it's time for your offspring. It's time for me to do my thing with your offspring. Okay? Now, which he died, and he sent, and he called for his son Joseph from Egypt. And Joseph, his son, came from Egypt, and Joseph came unto his father. And Jacob said unto Joseph and unto his son, Behold, I die, and the God of your ancestors will visit you and bring you back to the land, which the I am swear to give unto you and unto your children after you. Now therefore, when I am dead, bury me in the cave which is in Machpelah, in Hebron. Now we know that Machpelah is in Hebron. This is where the burial place of all the line of Abram is. In the land of Canaan. Now it's the land of Israel. Near my ancestors. And Jacob made his sons swear by burying him in Machpelah, in Hebron, and his sons swore unto him concerning this thing. And he commanded them, saying, Serve the I am your God, for he who delivered your fathers will also deliver you from all trouble. Now, all 12 of them did know this thing, that God delivered them in everything they did, whether he had to give them extraordinary powers or deliver them out of the miry pit and cover snakes so that they wouldn't get bitten. And God just did so many things for them. Now, this thing they knew. They were confident in God. See, we got to have confidence in the Most High. Faith is defeating. When you say the word faith, it's defeating, because it's just so many things that people just struggle with. But to have confidence that God can do this thing, to have confidence that God will, and he's powerful enough to defeat or create or allow this thing to happen. This is what you want, confidence. And Jacob said, Call all your children unto me. And all the children of Jacob's sons came and sat before him. And Jacob blessed them and said unto them, I am your God of your father, shall grant you 1,000 times as much and bless you, and may he give you blessings of your father Abram. And all the children of Jacob's sons went forth on that day after he had blessed them. And on the next day, Jacob again called for his sons, and they all assembled and came to him and sat before him. Now here is the man. See, you a son. You're your dad's son. I mean, he can't even call for most of you men to come to his side when he's ailing, because many of you have been swayed by devils. And even you've been swayed by a bitter woman called your mama, that the man's no good. I've noticed one show on YouTube that the brother, he was trying to get this man to see, but this man was so engrossed in Egyptology and praising the woman, he called her God. My mama God. And he was very emotional. I mean, in a male way, he got angry. He wanted to fight, because the guy is saying, prove to me that this thing is so, that your mother or a woman is God. Or gods. So this would be under paganism, because can't no one woman be God. And no, we men don't call ourselves gods. Most of us don't. But anyway, no, you're not God, woman. You're not God. You're not the power. Maybe to that child that you deceived, as far as just as Eve wanted to be just like God. She wanted to have the wisdom and be as God, to know the things that he knew. She wanted to rebel, and when if it was so that she could get that power better than God, she would raise up just like you are and deceive all the world, even her husband, and take control of him and say, I am God. And all the man, to put it bluntly, the man said, all you have to do is just, let's go to the bedroom and you will find out. I mean, that's a wicked thought, but either way, that is it. The man was to give. The woman basically receives. He gives her his seed. She returns it into a baby, a person. You come from your father. You're nurtured by your mother. Stop believing this Egyptology stuff. Many of you, those have died before you to believe this thing. They're waking up in a place they didn't think they were going to wake up. Okay, I digress on that then. But either way, and his son sat before him, and Jacob on that day blessed his sons before his death. Each man he did bless according to his blessing. Behold, it is written in the book of the law of the I am pertaining to Israel. Now, listen, there was a book carried into Egypt that was the book of the law. See, this is why I often says there is a book of the law, but it had to be rewritten. This angel is reformulating this book of the law to Moses in the mount. Or this one who sat before the Most High. One of the 24 elders that John thought he saw really were messengers. They were angels. They were spirits. Spirits that were very holy before the Most High. And he was teaching Moses. There is a book of the law. And how did it get lost? Or maybe it was stolen in Egypt. Maybe through bondage. When they got to bondage, they couldn't practice the book of the law anymore. Maybe it was taken from them. And then they come with the disciplines. See, many things could happen back in that time. And then come to you talking about, oh, it was before even the Bible was made. Yeah, the Bible wasn't created until after this so-called New Testament days, when the prophet had came. God sent the prophet, and the prophet did his job, or did what he's supposed to do, as any other prophet before him. He done what he's supposed to do. He was prophesied by Moses, a prophet of among your brethren. Shall the Lord send you, and he's like unto me, is what Moses said. In verse 8, and Jacob said unto Judah, I know, my son, that thou art a mighty man for thy brethren, reign over them. That was his crown right there. And thy sons shall reign over their sons forever. In other words, the scepter shall not depart from who? Judah. It's there. Only teach thy sons to bow the bow and all the weapons of war. Jacob understood the war. He understood the bow. I mean, Jacob even understood how to sling a sword, but the bow was easier in his old age. In order that they might fight the battles of their brother, who will rule over his enemies. And Jacob again commanded his sons on that day, saying, behold, I shall be this day gathered unto my people. Carry me up from Egypt and bury me in the cave of Machpelah, as I have commanded you. Howbeit take heed, I pray you, that none of your sons carry me, only yourselves. And this is the manner you shall do unto me. Now here they're going to go back east. Because you have to realize Egypt, most of them dwelt close to the river, Nile. Or some say the brook of Egypt. Once you cross that land, you enter into the land that God gave Jacob. He said, from what? The Euphrates to the brook of Egypt. All of that is yours. But now who occupies it? Heathen. Period. I mean, I can't make it up. This is what it says. Now, God made it very simple. Simple. Your borders. Where's your territory? From the Euphrates River to the brook of Egypt. Egypt should be on the what? The west side of the Nile. Israel, or should I say Jacob or Kobe, was on the east side of the Nile River. All the way down, even in Africa. Not in South Africa. Anything east of that, all the way to the end of the Euphrates River. and over, or what they call Africa. And who's there now? I mean, the people there now, that part of Israel wasn't scattered. They were already there. But they wasn't practicing God. They were practicing paganism. A lot of them were. You compare the word of the Most, I don't care where you get the Most High words from, you're going to find out that these people were practicing paganism. And you have these people who have been deceived by devils. See, this is why it's just to just leave it alone. Just stick with this history stuff. It's good to know and good to try to figure out and come to a conclusion of who you are. But then leave it alone, because there's nothing going to count but his statutes, commandments, laws, and ordinances in the end. That's it. It ain't about your faith in no Jesus, because your confidence in God is is determined by what you obey, that he's commanded you and those before you. Jesus didn't write not one law, not one law. But yet he gonna come and change God's laws? I don't think so. He gonna give you a portion of the law, or what you call it, a watered down version of the law? No, he's not gonna do that. He's gonna quote right from the law. And they only give you a little bit in a few chapters. Make that make sense. Well, wisdom is known of her children. I can say that much. That's true. Now, let us continue. He said, and verse 12, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun shall carry me my bier, his body, at the east side. East side. Reuben, Simeon, and Gad at the south. In other words, this is the same thing when they was around the temple. But first Levi surrounded the temple, and then the rest of the children, the 11 children, were around Levi. And they had their camps during the wilderness trekkings. He said, Simeon, Gad at the south, Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benoni at the west, Dan, Asher, and Naphtali at the north. Let not Levi carry with you, for he and his sons will carry the ark of the covenant of the I Am with the Israelites in the camp. Now he was prophesying here. 400 years before this thing is even came about. And let Joseph my son carry, for as a king so let his glory be. Howbeit Ephraim and Manasseh shall be in their stead. Thus shall you do unto me when you carry me away. Do not neglect anything of all that I command you. In other words, he's giving them a pre picture of what their sons and daughters was going to do. Anything of all that I command you, and it shall come to pass when you do this unto me, that the I Am will remember you favorably and your children after you forever. In other words, I'm showing you something that's going to happen in the future, but I want you to do it in a pattern that I'm going to show you right now. I want you to march. I want you to carry my body in this pattern. In other words, I got 2 of you here and 2 of you there and 3 of you on each side. 6 and 4 is 10. Then you got Judah and you got Levi. They have a special anointing. Yeah! Glory, 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 glory. Unto the Most High Yah. Yes. Yes. Oh, you don't hear me, do you? Woo! That's beautiful. Oh, whoa. Oh, that gets me stirred up a little bit here. But let me say this. And you, my sons, honor each his brother and his relative, and command your children and your children's children after you to serve the I Am God of your ancestors all the days. All the days. And in order that you might prolong your days in the land, and your children and your children's children forever, when you do what is good. Now, when we talk about a precept, the precept is when you go to the law and find out what they did and what they're talking about is so. That's the precept. That was before they said what they said is the law. The law was since the beginning. The law was there in the time of Adam, before the flood. The law was there. All the same law that is laid out in Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers, all of that. Exodus, all of it. The law was there before then. It just was a reissuance of the law that he did with Moses, a reissuance of the law. See, let's call a buck a buck. This is just what it is. This is what's so important to study scripture. It's so important that you know this just wasn't Moses' law. Moses just didn't make this up. It was before him. Now, and thou, Joseph, my son, forgive, I pray thee, the wrongs of thy brethren and all their misdeeds and the injury that they heaped upon thee. For God intended it for thine and thy children's benefit. I mean, here you is standing second to the king of Egypt. I mean, just as rich and fat and full of food, and your children are just healthy and strong and mighty and muscular, and your sons looking just as good, and your daughters, if you get any, they're going to even just be just as pretty. Yes. God. And oh, my son, lead not thy brethren to the inhabitants of Egypt, neither hurt their feelings. For behold, I consign them to the land of God, the hand of God, in thy hand to guard them from the Egyptians. And the sons of Jacob answered their father, saying, O our father, all that thou hast commanded us, so will we do. Didn't they say the same thing to God back in the 19th and 20th chapter of Exodus? All that the Lord God have said, that will we do. Covenant. They made a covenant with their father to do what the Most High has said. And Jacob said unto his son, so may the God be with you when you keep all his ways. When you keep all his ways. How in the world you going to say you a woman and you going to call yourself a priest of the Most High? Many of you are bitter against the manhood. Bitter against the patriarchs. Bitter. Even men have been so deceived by devils. There's no such thing as a lust devil, or there's no such thing as any kind of devil or demon. These are just demons who have been assigned or have been commanded or given an assignment on you to turn you, and for you to turn others in your bitterness or your deceived mind and your sneered conscience. This is what that is. They're just devils. He has no specific thing he has to do, because the only thing that he has to do is go to hell and die. Because how can that be when a man is drawn of his own lust? A lust devil? So this lust devil is equal to God. He's everywhere. Satan, he's everywhere. He's omnipresent. Make a buck a buck. You have been confused. Your mind has gone. There are many Satans. Satan is a horde of devils. Satans. The Islamic religion didn't have it wrong. They call it the Hasatans. Even the book of Enoch, he tried to get away from it, but he slipped and said the Satans. And then when one come by itself, it's called a Satan or Satan. Man, we got a long way to go, don't we? Especially those of you who are Christians and those of you who are still carrying Christian ways and doctrines that call yourself of the children of Israel and of the children of Jacob. Long way to go. Now, in verse 21, And it shall come to pass when you shall go after God to serve him, and will teach your children after you and your children's children to know the I am. Then will the Lord raise up unto you and your children a servant. He's not talking about Jesus. From amongst your children. And the I am will deliver you through his hands from all affliction, and bring you out of Egypt, and bring you back to the land of your fathers, to inherit it securely. This was the land of Shem before it became the land of Canaan. So you don't call the buck. You can't call yourself trying to intimidate God's people and then come from somewhere out of Europe or out of this other place and then go in there and say you the children of God. No. They came out of oppression, slavery, and they came into a land that God had given them. This is what happened. And he said he was going to deliver them, and this servant that he called him a servant. This was Moses. Now this was a prophet talking about another prophet, Moses. Moses talked about another prophet. What you call Jesus, whatever his name is, that's what he's called. But yet this was the time where men was deceived by them taking this name, and they misconstrued what he says. They even put him to have abolished the law, which is a whole big blasphemy. Every time you say the law is abolished, you have blasphemed against heaven and every patriarchy. That's why you believe that women is there, because look at what they did. They took Mary and put her up on a pedestal. Joseph is hardly mentioned, and it's just a big mess. And it is so fluid in the reading when you read the New Testament, you can't even spot it. This is deceitful of the Satans. God allowed it because of what he said in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Yes, he allowed it. That you might be turned backwards, that you might forget, that you might even know that you might not know nothing, that you might be dumbfounded, ruled by your enemies, put down and slain even in the streets. This is what God does. Is he evil? Yes, he's evil to you. It's not what you want. It's not what you're going to have either. Let's call a buck a buck. In verse 22, and then we're going to stop. And Jacob ceased in commanding his sons, and he drew his feet into the bed, and he died and was gathered to his people. See, now we know why this book was taken out. It wasn't just one. It was many things in this book that shine the light on the lies told, even in the 66 books, or should I say, the 33 books and the what? 27 letters. I believe I got that right. But either way, yes, 33 books of the Old Testament prophets. And then you got those little books talking about, they don't even say nothing. And you got this pastor going to preach in that little tiny book that's really, you could about throw that out because it ain't even edifying in no kind of way. Your Aunt Eunice. These number letters. I don't want nobody to know nothing about no Aunt Eunice. That's their letter. That's what they did. Or whatever you want to call it. But either way, trust in the I am with all thine heart. Lean not to thine own understanding, but I will say this, obey his commandments, statutes, laws, and ordinances, and it will be well with you. And with that, we're going to say peace.